networks and relationships and trust are the foundation of life. There's tons of jobs for students with psychology degrees. Right? There's tons of myths about what psychology is.
Today's guest is a key figure in shaping what psychology looks and feels like for undergraduates at Queen's. Her leadership, insight, and genuine care for students have made her a recognizable name across campus.
Dr. Meghan Norris is the Undergraduate Chair of the Department of Psychology at Queen's University. She's known not only for her research in social and political psychology, but also for her passion for evidence-based teaching and inclusive education.
She brings a unique lens to the student experience, making psychology more accessible or engaging and more relevant. Whether it's through innovative course design, thoughtful mentorship, or advocating for student voices in academic spaces.
If you've ever taken a psych course here, there's a good chance you've benefited from her work, whether directly or behind the scenes. Her impact reaches far beyond the syllabus.
She's a leader, a mentor, and a strong advocate for student success. We're so excited to sit down with her today and talk about the future of psychology, the student experience, and everything in between.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Enriched Mindset Podcast. I'm Lana, a second-year psychology student at Queen's University.
And I'm Dr. Lee. Welcome to the Enriched Mindset Podcast.
Today we've got a super cool guest joining us, someone all psych students at Queen's should probably know by name, Dr. Norris.
So thank you so much, Dr. Norris, for joining us today. We like to start our podcast with a bit of a dad joke. So I'll let Lana get started here.
Okay, so the first one is, why was the developmental psychologist always on time?
Oh, why?
Because they knew the importance of early milestones.
I feel like you need to share that with Dr. Mark Saba at Queen's. He's going to love it.
Oh, yeah.
Here's another one. These are designed to be bad, by the way, not actually good. Why did the social psychologist start a podcast?
Oh, no. Why?
Because they couldn't pass up a good group dynamic. That was bad. Anyway.
It's so good. I'm here for it.
Okay. So again, today we're sitting down with Dr. Meghan Norris, the Undergraduate Chair of Psychology at Queen's University. She's helped so many students figure out their path, and today she's here to chat with us just about that.
Let's get into it.
All right.
So I guess, can you tell us a little bit about what first drew you to studying psychology and what your journey looked like before becoming the chair?
Yeah. It's not what you're going to think it is. I had no intentions of studying psychology, and I often joke that one day I'll go back and pursue the kinesiology degree that I was intending to pursue. My story is one about doors opening when doors open and me taking opportunities as they come up. So I am now somewhat ashamed to admit I started studying psychology because I was trying to avoid it. Like that. And I was trying to bypass a requirement, and my intention was to go on and somehow finagle my way through a loophole that never existed, and then switch into kinesiology. When I was in my second or third year, I took a course, and I was very good at psychology. I loved it. I was excited about it, and I was like happy to be on this path. And I took a test, and the professor in the class said, some nerd got 105% on this class.
Wow.
Whoever this is, come see me after class. I was like terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, he thought I cheated, or I don't know what he thought. But I like sheepishly go up to hire you to work.
Wow.
I was like, oh. And in my head, I'm like, this is great. It's a great job. I'm doing research. It was really fun. I had a great team of students I was working with in the lab. And then it came time to apply for the honors thesis. And my parents had done diplomas through university, but I was really like a first-gen degree-seeking student. So I was in a 3-year degree because I was like, why would I do 4 and do the same thing in 3? It just didn't make sense to me. And so he was like, where's your thesis application? I'm applying for a thesis. And he's like, are you sure? And I was like, and he's okay, I need your application tomorrow. And for some reason, and then it was the same thing. I did my thesis. It was great. And he said, when are you taking your GREs? So at that time, to go on in graduate school, you had to take a standardized test, the LSAT or the MCAT. I said, oh, because I'm actually going to go into kinesiology. This is great. Now I got a thesis. I'm switching. He's like, you should keep your doors open. And so I wrote my GRE, and it went okay. And I applied for some grad programs, and I got a shirt at the undergrad level. So I just kept going, and I was having fun, and there was nothing that took me off of course. So then it came time, I finished my PhD, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I was so fortunate. My first academic position, I was a professor of consumer science at Purdue University. So I went down to the States, had tremendous colleagues. We did a lot of fun things, but life sometimes happens, right? So I quickly, for family reasons, back to Halifax. I left a tenure track job at an R1 institution, and I was unemployed. And for all good reasons, like all good family reasons that we often don't talk about. So I really want to lean into the fact that career decisions sometimes are impacted by factors other than our interests.
100%.
Right? And then this is where I think my training in psychology really came through. And I really credit Queen's with this, to be honest. I was very confident in my training. Without a doubt, I knew I was well trained. I had a job interview. Again, it was more on the consumer science end of things. And then the offer I got was like a terrible salary. And I was like, and so I started,
Wow.
and I started making more money than the job offer. This is great. And I intended to stay there. That was my plan. But I love Queens for tons of reasons I can talk about or not on this podcast.
Yeah.
Somebody had sent me the ad for the job I'm in currently. We all have imposter syndrome. Like, it kicks in. And I'll be honest, I felt a little bit ashamed. I left a research job. That's what you train for. That's all. And so I thought it was like send of this job ad, if I'm being honest. And I'm like embarrassed and ashamed about it. And I was like, oh, they feel so bad for me. They're sending me this job ad, but I'm going to apply because it would be totally rude not to. And so I applied and I got an interview, which was great. But also I was like, oh, they just really bad for me. And I'm going to take it as an opportunity to go back and talk about the program and see some colleagues. The interview went really well. I will overshare on this podcast because I think in a position where I'm far enough along that I can lean into the mess of the experience and not have the social consequences. My youngest was an infant at that time. So I was nursing and traveling. And so I get to the airport and finally I can start taking care of some physical needs when you have a newborn or whatever. And rings was the department head. And again, I was mortified. I was like, I must have top charger because nobody calls 20 minutes after an interview. That's not a good sign. And she says, we'd like to offer you the job. It really blew my mind. 100%. And it was incredible. And I was like, I really need to talk to my partner at the time.
Yeah.
But I came back. In 6 weeks, we were moving to Kingston, and I've been thrilled to be back ever since.
Yeah.
But it's a story of like twists and turns and working through that discomfort of, I don't know that I can do this. I don't know that they really want me to do this. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
With a really happy ending.
Yeah.
Wow. And I guess you had a mentor really that really believed in you and encouraged you along the way.
I'm so glad you asked that. Actually, it was funny. I was talking to now a friend, but a peer mentor today. I think networks and relationships and trust are the foundation of life, of careers, of it all. And I have a variety of mentors. I have one mentor who I joke is the one who I go to, has no qualms about saying, Megan, that was a terrible decision. What were you thinking? Why did you do that? And sometimes
you do.
I have another peer mentor who, no matter what I do, even when I make the most ridiculous decision, is good reasons, and you're really competent, and so he's like my hype man,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah. Then I have another one who is let's slow down. Like it takes a village for all of us, right?
Yeah. I like that. I guess that leads us into our second question. So, what does your current position entail, and what are the joys and the challenges of your position?
I love my current position because it has so many different facets. So on one side of things, I'm teaching, which I think most people are familiar with. I teach big classes, I teach small classes. I get to do training in terms of TA development, so I have lots of student content, which I love. I also have a lot of administrative roles. Some of those I think are really exciting. We're building new systems that I think increase access, that increase student confidence. We know we do lots of program evaluations on all the things we do, and we find that we can really build confidence in topics like careers through things like career conferences. If I had to say one of the biggest challenges, I feel like everybody, email volume is just so high. So trying to keep on top of email is the challenge, but I really do love my job.
Yeah. For high school students that's interested in psychology, specifically Queen's, what is it about Queen's that might distinguish itself from other universities for psychology?
I'll first start by saying what I really truly, we are so lucky to be in Canada. It's all my buddies working at the other programs. Like, we have a phenomenal, both undergraduate and graduate program in psychology. So when people are choosing universities, I strongly believe they should go to the campus that they feel the fit with. Yeah. I care about students going to a school where there's a sense of belonging, they feel safe, they feel happy, they have all of the things they need in that community to thrive and succeed. So academics are one part of this.
Yeah.
At the same time, obviously, Queen's is we have great programming. My colleagues are the most tremendous, super smart folks around. They're experts in the world. So you're going to get a lot of experience with current research. Also, I feel, and again, I'm going to own my bias here, we're really a collegial program. So for example, we're getting ready to head to the Canadian Psychological Association conference. We've got a WhatsApp group for students and faculty who are going so that we can stay in contact. Throw in your poster time, throw in your talk time. So like, we show up as a network. So students have friendly faces wherever they go. Those types of contacts are really throughout, I hope, our undergraduate program. So we have a really tremendous department student council. We have representation of our DSC, our students, every level of government in our program and in our broader faculty. So students are making decisions about curriculum, what do students need, when do they need it, and they have real meaningful impact and change. So I hope our students really feel that the program is also a reflection of that.
How long have you been the chair so far?
Since 2017.
Wow. And I guess when you have, I mean, it all comes from leadership. It trickles down, because I'm not necessarily hearing that kind of unity in other schools. We're actually trying to get in contact with people who are going to CPA through different universities, and that can be a challenge. There doesn't seem to be maybe a central organizer for each school. So it's really cool that you have a WhatsApp group and things like that.
Yeah. I'll be honest, the students mostly just make fun of me because I'm like, I'm not cool, but I can start. What's up, champ?
WhatsApp.
But I think it's really nice and it's really important. And you know what, though? I think it's a testament. So when I was a grad student, we did the same thing. Right. So part of it, I think, is university culture.
It is.
Yeah. And the commitment to relationships between students.
Yeah, 100%. Actually, I want to know what your thoughts are on the belief that psychology is just a stepping stone degree. Like, just with a bachelor's degree alone, you can't do much.
It obviously is. I will make an argument, but I really want to be explicit that I know why people think that. So a challenge with psychology is that the word psychology itself is a regulated term. And so unless a student goes on to be a clinical psychologist, they cannot call what they do psychology. Seems even true for me. So when I have my academic hat on, sure, I can say I'm a psychologist. But when I'm consulting, I'm a behavioral scientist. So nobody will find me in the psychology world unless I am. Which for students, it's super hard because you're like, where do I find where can I see exemplars? The benefits of psychology is it's almost a bit of a chameleon degree in that I really believe undergrad degree, and I know it will be true, we're thousands of students. You can go on in so many paths. So an undergrad degree in psychology, we see students, of course, going on to future training in occupational therapy, speech language pathology, all of the psychologies. This year, for some reason, tons of students are going on in law. A few years ago, everybody was going med school. Like, it's interesting. There's kind of cohort differences. But we also see students going on in data management, project coordination, policy work. I did a quick search in the GTA this morning just to have a look. Jobs for students with psychology degrees are some challenges. There's tons of myths about what psychology is. Oftentimes the public doesn't realize it's a science. They don't realize that we make our poor students go through tons of training in data management, data collection, research methods.
Yeah.
And these are so broadly applicable.
Yeah.
So it's up to students to really look through those jobs and say, what are the skills required? And then be able to articulate those skills. And we find that when students perspective about what are the skills they have in that toolbox, they go on and they.
Yeah.
It's a related question, but how important do you think graduate school is for a meaningful career in psychology?
It depends on how you define psychology. If you want to be a clinical psychologist, it's a must.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you want to do policy work, it's not. I really am a big believer in taking a year before you think about that next step. So every year we have a career conference. This year was an anomaly, but we bring alumni back often to do our keynote speeches. Once in a while, we bring in a clinical psychologist, but we really try to show up.
Yeah.
So we've recently had somebody come back who is now in policy work with the government. They actually did a master's in policy work, but they took some time to figure out what it was that they wanted to do and then pursued pathways that way. There's lots of myths, obviously, about psychology in the public, but also among students.
Yeah.
And so I think there's also felt pressure for students who are currently in undergrad programs that's like grad school or bust, right?
Yeah.
And it makes kind of sense because you're living and breathing people who went to grad school and who are professors. That's what they do. So that is what is the salient, accessible. So really important to take some time and look.
100%. In your experience mentoring students, what are some common misconceptions they have about what a psychology degree prepares them for?
I would say misconceptions per se. I would say that there's a new skill set students have to develop to be able to articulate their skills in ways that are meaningful to the folks that they're talking to. If you're looking at a job and program evaluation, you really need to talk about the fact that you have training in technical data collection. You have training in collecting, managing, analyzing, and then translating results into meaningful action. And students are like, but it's just a skill set developed. And I think it's hard to develop that because there's a lot of maybe fear, right? About, oh my gosh, I need to get to that next step.
Yeah.
And yeah, you need to make money. Like I am here for, you need to have financial security.
Yeah.
And we need to work alongside that fear to be able to articulate skill and knowledge.
Sure. I think because of how competitive like psychology is now, that's why there may be that resistance from students to look into other roles because, like you said, there's cohort differences. And I think for our cohort specifically, we want clinical psychology. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
So there's definitely resistance there in terms of looking down different paths and exploring those skill sets that you would be building if you were actually open to the other options.
I'm so excited for you to keep going through your trainings. I was just talking with a student maybe a month ago, and this is common. So some students keep going and they want to go on and great. Obviously, clinical psychology is amazing. Lots of good reasons. And it's not the
Yeah.
And so some students come in wanting clinical and keep wanting clinical. Majority. So more often than not, students come in and they sit down and say, I don't want to be a clinician.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That journey for you. That's a way you get to.
Yeah.
And so I took this course in developmental, or I took a course in neuroscience, and did you know I can go work on video game design with a degree in psychology? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it's a journey.
Yeah.
And I even joke, I still don't know what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're so lucky to live in a place where we have long lifespans.
Yeah.
Where there's lots of change happening,
Yeah.
and where you've got a skill set that can be adapted to a
Yeah.
ton of different
Yeah.
scenarios.
For sure.
I guess numbers wise, do you know how many undergrad psychology students are at the university on average in a given year, or to give like first year?
We have a ton of different programs.
Right.
Usually have, and we've just changed our structure, but usually for this year, our graduating cohort, we have around 160, 175 majors.
Yes.
And we have around 100 double major types of
Okay.
degrees. And then we have students too.
A minor. Okay.
Yeah.
And like, how frequently do you hear from students that they feel lost or unsure about the pathway they want to choose? And in those cases, what's your approach? What do you tell them?
Yeah. So my approach, joke now, obviously it's scary, right? So come on in, let's talk about it, let's lean into it. And then a spreadsheet is my answer to everything. And so students come in, I've got a template, we work on a spreadsheet. Do not listen to anybody else. So there's lots of myth, there's lots of stress. And sometimes that can be really reinforcing for folks, and it's a little bit exciting. No, let's go get some data. So we actually look at job postings, we look at required qualifications, look at what those required qualifications mean, and then we start looking at programs and what you actually need to get in. If you need additional training.
Yeah.
Oftentimes in those meetings, students are like, I have all. It's a lot. jobs. Let's work with career services. Get that resume as on point as it can be. So I think sometimes get the data and see what the data are before we make decisions.
For sure. Actually, if you had one piece of psychology career advice you wish you had known from the beginning of your undergrad, what would it be?
I wish I had more in my undergraduate degree, if I'm being honest. And I think some of that comes with experience and failing and realizing that you can get through failure and that plot twists are the norm, not the exception. We're all going to have plot twists. We're all going to hit roadblocks and realizing that we have what it takes to get beyond them. But early on, like I said, scared of calculus. I've never gotten lower than an A in any math class, stats class. And why was I scared of it? And so I think like just being confident and then also not afraid to fail. So one of the things I really love, I have close colleagues in business programs all over, and they teach their students to fail fast. And what an amazing approach to training and education. Yeah. Fail fast, get in there, make those mistakes, because that's how you learn. There's a quote I love from math education research, and it says, mistakes are springboards for future inquiry. Like, I love it. Love it.
Yeah. It's really interesting because as we've talked to a few people who've gone into PhD programs, they've been telling us that it wasn't their first attempt when they got in.
Yeah.
It's taken multiple attempts. And in talking to some professors, they've told us that the norms have changed in terms of the level of research experience required to get into grad school. I think a lot of people are stuck in determining, should I just keep going and persisting, or should I just consider an alternative? So do you have any advice for someone in that situation who's applied to grad school, didn't get in, and is deciding, should I keep going or should I?
It's really tough. Obviously, there's lots of things to consider. Yeah. On one hand, it's especially tough because you're applying to work with a supervisor and those N of one decisions. We're trying to make generalities, but you don't know if somebody necessarily needs somebody who has experience running a machine as an example. So there's things that are beyond your control. Research experience, obviously super important. When I talk with students, I think the why here is what matters. So research experience is really great because when you're applying to grad school, it's almost like applying for a job. Like it's a big commitment. Folks want to know that you know what you're going to win. So that's a real big benefit for research experience. Also, those letters of reference are really important. So that's research gets you a lot of bang for your buck, but it's not the only thing. Sometimes it can be really helpful to have a student who has all of that background, but then who maybe has taken some time away from school to get some experience. So I often have students come and say to me, with shame, they're going to take a year. Why? Like, I call it a discovery year, and they're like, you're just going to go backpacking through Europe. And I'm like, so you're going to go experience other cultures, you're going to see other norms, you're going to get to interact with people in many ways. This is an incredible experience, but you have to talk about it in ways that are important. For sure. Similar to work experience, I often hear from students, they come in, I want to go to grad school, I have to work to pay for school. That was also my experience. I totally get it. And they say, I'm working as a server. You're working with people in the hot sun, often cranky and really mean people. Yeah. You still have to be nice. You still have to get the job done. Oh my gosh, they didn't tell you about that allergy. You're working with people in the most difficult of contexts. For sure. And keep a smile on your face and you're carrying a tray over your head. Let's talk about how we can articulate in terms of ways that are relevant for whatever program. Yeah. So really, I think thinking about your experiences, the skills you're developing in those, and then communicating in ways that are going to resonate with the next step. For sure. So when it comes to thinking about, do I get the grad school application train or not? If you don't get in, obviously you're going to do something. Maybe you're going to love it and you're going to leave the train, or maybe you're going to say, I don't want to apply. Yeah. Think about those skills and translate it into your application. So you're going to have more maturity, more experience, and that also. For sure.
This next question is related to that. So what types of work experience or internships do you think are actually valuable versus just being resume filler?
Yeah. I think, I'm super biased. I feel like all experience is good experience. I've never heard experience that I thought was not helpful.
I see, yeah.
I've heard students come in and not explain it in ways that I thought were helpful. And we've worked to be like, okay, think about how we talk about this and how we match that to what you want to get to. Yeah. But like you can throw any experience at me and I'm going to find a way that it's going to help.
Yeah. That also leads into our next question. Are there specific courses, internships, or extracurriculars you recommend for students wanting to explore non-traditional psychology careers?
Yeah. I am a big believer in do it all if you can.
Yeah.
So internships are excellent. You get to really see. So for me, again, I had a PhD in psychology. I was in consulting. And I was like, not sure what people do, and they're not applying psychology properly at all.
Yeah.
So students often get really excited because I see so many ways I can make this work better.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting for students to see, especially as fourth year is tough. Like you've got one foot out the door. So an internship is a nice way to see the motivation. Oh, I see what I'm working toward. Queens, they're paid, which is also very exciting.
Yeah.
I also love exchange. We see students go on exchange, typically in their third year at Queen's, and come back with incredible insights that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah.
I am also a big believer in stats and methods courses. Get all you can. I laugh. People don't realize, again, trained in psychology, I can easily go sit in a room with folks doing machine learning and know enough about the back end to have insight. So those skills really generalize across industries and help conversations.
Okay, perfect. We actually have a game for you. It's about career advice.
It's not good.
Don't worry, it's not too hard. So it's called Ick or Stick, and it's psychology career advice.
Ooh.
Ultimately, the ick is something that you think is a complete no, and a stick is stick with it, and it would be beneficial for the student. So you email a professor and they don't reply within a week. You send a follow-up email and they don't reply. You message them on LinkedIn.
This is an ick. So there's different camps on this. So let me explain. So for me, I often share with students, I average an incoming email every 3 minutes.
Wow.
It takes me longer than 3 minutes to write a response.
Yeah.
So sometimes I just cannot, and I have to triage. Some of those emails are very urgent and really need a response. So if I have a student in crisis, I'm going to respond to that. What I think is tough here is that it take the non-response personally, and it's really not. It's really not. Email is just terrible.
Yeah.
That said, this often comes up in the context of grad school. Should I email people or not? And it's a very polarizing question when you talk to faculty.
Yeah.
Some faculty are like, no, I'm getting tons of emails. I'm getting 300 student emails. For fairness, I want to wait until all of those applications are I'm going to look. Other folks really want to chat. So I encourage students to send an email introducing yourself. I understand you might not be able to. That's totally okay. I just wanted to introduce myself in case that is helpful. So it's a nice way to walk the middle ground.
Yeah.
I am a big lover of LinkedIn though. Like, add your profs, follow them. Like, I love going on there and seeing students. Like, you probably see me on like, I really am like cheering people on. So that's a nice way to keep in touch. Yeah. If the email though was urgent, then definitely.
Okay.
Perfect. But never on Facebook.
All right. So you apply for a volunteer research lab position, but have no interest in the actual research. You just need the experience because positions are almost impossible to come by.
I say do it.
Yeah.
The thing about research is the skills that you're going to develop. And I have never experienced a case where a student has done this, and students often come, brain is right. And so sometimes it actually really opens doors and is in life for me. So I would say try it. If you think you're going to take it though, and you're not going to be able to be consistent, do not do it. So take it and be committed to it and follow it through.
Yeah.
It's very damaging to research programs to have people who are not reliable. This data matters. So even if it's not a research project you care about, it's informing science.
For sure.
So it's really critically important that people take these seriously.
Yeah.
You don't have to love everything you do. I have my own research projects that maybe aren't my favorite, right? But you have to treat it with care and respect.
For sure. Okay, you email a prof after really liking a lecture, not asking for anything, just building an authentic connection.
Love it. I'm here for it. Oftentimes emails for understandable reasons. People reach out when things are maybe not going well. These are what keep people going. Almost everybody I know has a feel-good folder where we save these for really hard days. Absolutely. Make it weird. Send thank you. I'm here for it.
You turn down a psychology opportunity that pays well, but doesn't align with your ethics or interest.
This is a real thing, especially for folks who are working in consulting. I had a case like, again, like I had to take contracts to pay my bills, and I turned down a big one because it did not fit my ethics. It did not feel right.
Yeah.
I think this is a yes. And I want to also hold that it's hard, right? If you got to buy groceries, like this is a real tough place to be. So I would encourage folks to think before they get into this, where those boundaries are so that you know yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
You avoid taking any psych courses with heavy research methods or data because you're going to be a psychotherapist and you won't do a PhD anyway.
They're correct. I would not avoid this approach to, or I would not take this approach to life. Even if you're not expecting to need to use research methods or statistics, time and misinformation, you are working with people who are in vulnerable positions. I believe it is your responsibility to be able to critically evaluate research about what's helpful. I think that this is a critical skill set, especially if you're working with folks.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the basis I would think of every course is it's based on empirical research. So you have to have a fundamental understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sure.
And sometimes, like I teach a course where I bring in lots of research.
Oh, okay.
And the students are like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second. What do we do next? So you can't just read an abstract and run. Like you actually have to critically evaluate what you're
For
saying.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you go into psychology because you're good at reading people and always win Mafia. Have you ever played Mafia? The game Mafia?
I am not cool. I don't know what.
Oh,
But I think cool. Do you know what I mean? I think it may or may not be the way you're going to conduct yourself professionally.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in people and working with people and hearing their stories, that's a great place of curiosity to come from.
Yeah.
Right.
And the whole point of going to training is to learn how to maybe avoid some biases or ineffective strategies that we use.
So here at Enriched Mindset, we're really interested in financial psychology, the psychology of money. And we have this kind of general question we ask all our guests is their own kind of personal musings on the relationship between money and happiness.
So obviously psychology has tried this, but it's done a lot of work. The relationship, the empirical relationship between money and happiness asymptotes.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to pay your bills. You need to be able to not be afraid if you need a certain procedure done. If there's a cost, you need to pay your groceries, all of it, obviously. Then it like peters out. And we're better spending our money in helping others once we hit that point, or experiences, not so much this whole amassing stuff type of thing.
Yeah.
Where I think in terms of working with undergrads, what I see is we have folks who have like such good cores, right? And they're like, this doesn't pay great, but I really want to do it. And I'm like, that's great, but can we maybe do it then in a different way? You do need to make enough money to be financially safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we really need to empower people to think about those decisions.
Do you find that with people doing psychology that sometimes they undervalue themselves
100%.
and
Oh my gosh.
should be paid better?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even as a professor, does that happen with negotiating salaries and things like that?
It's less, I would say less in terms of salary because so much is standardized now for good reasons. Right?
Yeah.
You still see it come out. You do still see women generally paid less, which is a problem. So we really need to work on that. I think there's other places where you may see it come in more, which is negotiating for non-salary benefits at times, like startup costs. Like, and this comes back to where having mentors is really important. Full circle, like trusting relationships where you can go and talk to somebody and say, hey, I need to know about this.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. When I first started consulting, I was charging way too low and I was not getting clients. I was like, what is going on? I should be getting clients for this.
Yeah.
And I went and I talked to one of my mentors who's done a lot of consulting, and he goes, what are you charging? And he like burst into laughter. No wonder they think like you're like some person, no trade. You're so underpricing yourself that you're like bargain bin.
Yeah.
And then he told me what he charged, and I started laughing. Like, and I had to go practice in a mirror about how much I was going to ask. At which point my motivation.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Great lesson.
That is a
So
good
talk to folks. So in terms of salary is going to vary. Different regions will charge different prices. So talk to mentors in your region. But
Okay, we're actually curious on what motivated you in your own psychology career to write the Canadian Handbook for Careers in Psychological Science.
So when I was in consulting, like I mentioned earlier, I was really shocked how poorly psychological science was being applied at the front lines.
Yeah.
Like, I was shocked. I was like, an intro psych to do this.
Yeah.
And intro psych is one of the most popular courses across North America.
Yeah.
And so, oh my gosh, we really need to like help people make the connections between what they're learning in undergraduate training and later careers, whether they go on in capital P psychology. So part of that book was really trying to help people activate their skills in different contexts.
Okay. So actually shifting back onto the finance side of things, what are some common jobs psychology majors can get right after undergrad, and what do they typically pay? How does that compare to higher paying roles in the field that require graduate training? And do you know of successful psychology majors who didn't go to grad school but had an amazing and lucrative careers?
Yeah, lots in that question. I actually looked up this morning. So one of the things I encourage students to do is to actually apply for these jobs, but just to get data, because data, we should make decisions based on data. I looked at policy analyst jobs, GTA. I looked at program coordinator jobs, GTA. Counseling is now a regulated term, but it hasn't quite translated into job postings yet. Counseling jobs, GTA, just to get a general sense. Again, you're not necessarily looking for the job title, but you're looking for those required qualifications. And so many of those jobs, they range from like $20 to $50 an hour. The ones I was looking at, some were annual salary around $70,000, but they wanted skills like data management, being able to translate data into actionable insight, ability to work well with people. They weren't specifying a specific degree. They might have said undergraduate degree, but it didn't necessarily say in psychology. It didn't say in business. It didn't say in physics. So it's really important that students look at those skills. Absolutely, people go on. I was thinking about this question, especially on a podcast. I don't have consent to talk about people's personal journeys. But working with a team of undergraduate students, they just published a little book, an online open access handbook, where they found folks who had an undergraduate degree in psychology, a master's degree in psychology, PhD in psychology, and gave little overviews of their career. So we see people in project management, program coordination, program evaluation, policy work, things like that.
Yeah.
Lots of options.
You're such a supporter of students. I'm just curious where that comes from. Like, what's the why for you and what's the inspiration?
It's just fun. It's fun to see people. Like, even just this morning, I got an email from an incredible undergraduate student saying she got into an occupational therapy program. She actually got to all the programs it's just, for me, I don't know how I can do any better than that. From people saying, hey, I found my way and I'm really excited about this next step. That is the most rewarding thing for me.
Yeah. Actually, I know Psych 100 is a really sensitive topic for a lot of students, especially at Queen's. And if you had one piece of advice for the upcoming cohort for Psych 100, what would it be?
It's funny. Intro Psych at Queen's, it's the biggest course on campus, and it's a course, chuckle on the back end, that there's so many myths.
Yeah.
So average in this course is a D minus.
Yeah.
Average this year's a B. But everybody's, no, it's not a B or it's not a B minus. It's usually around a B minus.
Yeah.
It's a D minus. I was like, the data there, I swear. To just try to block out noise. We find that students who show up for their labs consistently, who engage in the practice tests, who show up for their assessments, actually do very well.
Yeah.
But it is really challenging when all of these myths, it's not just at Queen's, it's everywhere. Certain courses or whatever, they all have these myths and these lures that go with them.
Yeah.
Try not to listen to them as much as
Yeah.
To wrap up, where can our audience learn more about upcoming projects or more about yourself or Queen's?
Yeah. We have a great career, specific to careers on our website. My colleague Anya Wilk has put together a really nice careers page for undergrad students on the Queen's Psychology website. It's really helpful. I have a website. I'm active on LinkedIn. You'll find me generally on Blue Sky right now. Those are all great professional ways. So if you, like for all students, if there's faculty you're looking at connecting with, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, professional facing,
Right.
those are great, more informal, regular contact-y type places to connect.
Yeah.
And staying away from more personal places. So if somebody has a personal Facebook page probably don't have
Yeah.
that.
Right.
You'll see how nerdy we all really. But yeah, those are great places. And I'll be at CPA.
Yeah.
I'm on the board for CPA, so I'll be at the student networking reception. You'll actually find lots of faculty members there who just want to go and talk to students. So come on out. It is awkward sometimes at your first conference, and
Yeah.
recognize everybody knows that. And so it's totally okay if you see me there and you're like, be a friendly face. I'll say, come.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you on the podcast. And yeah, we're just really excited for this to be published and to maintain our connection with you. So thank you so much.
I'll see you in
so
St.
much.
John's.
Awesome. All right.